we're doing a short interview with Mike Donatelli. He's a lead quest designer for WildStar, from Carbine, of course. And Mike, could you give us a short introduction of what WildStar is?
Yes, WildStar is Carbine's new MMO. It's a sci-fi fantasy mix with Western. When people ask me what my inspiration is when we design the content for the game, I generally say it's kind of a mix between Firefly and Indiana Jones. Some people have referred to it to me in these interviews. They call spellpunk. It's got you can play a character class that has weapons, that has ammunition, but he's kind of a wizard with guns. He's our spell slinger. He's like a gunslinger who can enchant his weapons with magic or teleport from point A to point B, stunning his enemies. So yeah, it's a sci-fi fantasy Western is what I sum it up as.
Okay, and how did you get to the name WildStar?
There's a lot of people ask me that, like, why not Wild Planet, why not all these other things? But I don't know, WildStar has, again, when you think about it, and even you see the logo, WildStar has this kind of Western feel to it. It's got this vibe, and I think a lot of people can sync up with that. That's something that's, no matter where you are, what culture, that kind of Western feel, that old pioneering spirit kind of vibe people get.
Yeah. Okay. So we've taken a look at the game, and it looks like there's 3 characters now we can play. We've got the Granok Warrior, the Human Spellslinger, and the Orin Esper. And it looks to us as if these are all pre-made combinations.
Absolutely. That was one of the first things everybody said. When they asked us to come out and do the demo, we said, well, we're not going to make a demo. We're just going to bring a zone. We'll just take a zone and we'll put a cap on the front end and back end so people can play it. That's actually our 3 to 6 content. It's not a demo that we made up. Now, the problem was that if we left the character creation stuff in, people would take 15 minutes making a character, and we only had 40 minutes for them to play. So what we did was we cut the character creation out, and we just mixed up some things. So in our game, at launch, you'll be able to pick whatever race you want and whatever class you want, and in whatever combination is allowed, just like any other MMO. We just did it in this case so people could get into the game and actually play the layered content faster.
Okay. Could you tell us anything about the direction you will be taking with the scientist and settler paths? Because they were not available at this point.
Absolutely. I can't go too much into it, but because you fine folks came out, I'll talk a little bit about it. The scientist is a collector. These are the people who are the achievement. They chase achievements. They want to unlock everything. And it's also a lore person, someone who wants to get deeper into the lore. Yes, every character in the game is going to be able to understand the lore and unlocks and all that good stuff, but the scientist gets more than anybody else. They get an extra level where you might learn something. They learn something even deeper than that. As far as the settler is concerned, the settler is actually one of the ones most people ask about because it's a very social path. The paths just are kind of an icing on the cake. You pick your race, you pick your class, and you pick your path. You just get some more content of the kind of content you like. Now the settler, it's the socializer. They're the builder. They build relationship, but they also build up the world. Like you can go into a town and help the town by building a medic. This is our planet. It's a wild planet. It's a frontier planet. So, settlers go into town. They help build hospitals. They help build farms. They help feed the people. They help do these things, but they also have effects on players. Let's say, for example, a settler could go into a town and build up a hospital, and the hospital could spawn medics, and medics could go all out in the field and heal players who are adventuring. So, he has this thing that he can do that affects everybody, but he's also useful in the field. In a group, you could bring a settler with you, and he could build a beacon to call down a trader who could trade and sell you all kinds of stuff while you're in the field. There's a lot of aspects of the settler that are both in town and outside of town, but regardless, it's all about socializing. It's a very social character.
Calling all survivors. If you can hear me and you can still walk, head down to the base of the tower. We're setting up camp while we wait for a rescue.
Will there be options to form groups with other players to do PvE content?
Absolutely. It's going to be a fully featured MMO. Anything that's in any other MMO that's out there, we're going to be doing as well. And we're probably going to be doing it a little bit different than what normally we'll do. Yes, we are going to have groups. I really can't get into how many people are in a group, but we have groups right now. We just have it disabled for this demo.
the Esper seems to be the only character that gets healing abilities. Will other classes eventually be more self-sufficient, or are they more tank or DPS intended?
What we brought here are pretty much, they're just your typical archetypes. It's like there's a tank and there's a range class and there's a utility healer. We have plenty more races and classes that are not being revealed right now, and then yes, some of them are more structured healers as what people are used to, but we also like to add a lot of utility. As you see in the demo, pretty much every class has some kind of crowd control, because we have a very robust momentum mechanic attached to our combat, where people are constantly jumping in and out of combat and stunning, and there's a lot of movement-based combat, so pretty much all of our classes have a bit of utility to them as well.
Okay. So if people are allowed to group up or able to group up, will there be quests that specifically require groups, or content that requires groups?
Yes, there is content that is group specific. As a matter of fact, there's content that's going to be group path specific. Okay. So to encourage players to group and be, we're trying to be we're trying to tackle a lot of things that have kind of been lost in MMOs, and one of the things is a very social aspect. We're always trying to get players back together. Our paths, we call it actually crossing paths, where we take all the path content and make sure that it is layered on top of each other, so that players can, are not going to be forced apart because they have different paths. We want them to play together at all times.
Okay, thank you. The characters have a one-shot ability now that allows them
to give, an execution. Yeah.
How will that work for boss battles later on in the game?
That's an excellent question. Whoever's question that was, that's an excellent question. The reason why is because we were just talking about this before we left. It's been bandy. We're not sure how it's going to work. It may just do a percentage damage to the monster, because obviously we don't want people one-shotting a raid boss. So it's it's a pretty astute question, and it hasn't yet been decided, but it is a topic of conversation right now.
What would be your target age audience for the game?
A lot of people have said, it's very cartoony. It's got this. We consider it's very stylized. It's got a very stylized. It's very stylized art, and we like it because it lets us do really, really big things with it, really over-exaggerated monsters, and it's just big art, and it allows us to have some humor. If you've played it, you've seen it. There's a bit of humor in there that the art supports. If you watch our trailer, while the trailer is not obviously gameplay footage, the trailer really captures the kind of humor that our game actually portrays. But as far as the age group that we hope to play, if you actually look at some of the things, gibbing a monster and they explode into meaty chunks, and the guy who's in a pot and getting cooked, he's talking to you as he slowly sinks down and dies. We're not afraid to tackle some adult, more mature things. So we're not aiming at children, but we want everybody to be able to play.
Every life on this planet is precious. Except that one.
Okay. Can you tell us anything about the subscription model yet? Will there be monthly fees, or is it a one-time purchase? Or
I would love to tell you more, but that's way above my pay grade.
Okay.
They don't ask me these questions. They just tell me these things later on. Yeah. So I don't know. Because
we arranged this yesterday, and we've talked to some people in the chat about it, and they came up with these questions as well. They're getting interested at that.
No. Hey, I'm as interested as they are. Tell them to keep tuned, because I don't know. Once we're pretty far along. Like I said, people are like, we came to Gamescom, we introduced our company, we announced the game, we said the name, brought a movie, and actually brought the game. So we do have a lot of the game playable. We just, we're fairly well along. Now that's what we see out there is it's not polished. It's an alpha, and as we get further along, we'll give out more information, but it won't probably be anytime soon that we'll know.
Okay, thank you. You guys actually played the game. Do you have any?
Now, at the moment, the three classes that have been shown, they have the very dual resource system. So they're sort of, how do I say this? Encouraged to switch between their two resource skills to sort of make combos that way. Is that something we can expect from future classes as well?
I would love to be able to answer that question, but I'm the lead content designer. We have a lead systems guy, but he's back at home actually working all this out right now. Okay. We're trying to make, I mean, you played what we have. We're trying to make a very, very layered system for combat so that players who are casual players that come into the game, they can play, but that players, you guys, or no MMOs and have played MMOs can also have kind of a more of a challenge. So I can't say if they all will have that double resource, but if the ones that we do have now. Yeah.
Challenge achieved.
And one more thing, you have mentioned that there will be group content,
yes,
specifically for groups. Now the demo, it finishes with an instanced area. Will you be able to play that with friends?
So well, I can give you a little bit of that information.
Yeah.
In a regular MMO, you go into a tutorial zone, you do a couple things, and all MMOs are pretty much the same. You know, you kill a monster, you walk away. We're trying to teach a whole lot. If you see in the demo, we had to take a lot of stuff from the tutorial and kind of just drop it in so players would know what the threat indicators were and the challenges and all that stuff. But the 1 to 3 is going to be instanced, and then the 3 to 6, the one you saw there, is a 20-man instance, so you can play with other people. But that very last part of it is a one-person instance. It's what we call a story instance. It's just to kind of tie all those things you've learned. Like if you've learned all the things you can learn about the threat indication system and the evasion mechanics, that you fight that boss at the end, and it kind of does all the things that you've learned. So once you finish the 3 to 6, so it's 1 to 6 will be instance, but there's a 20-man instance in the middle. But once you leave that last instance, you're in the real world, and it's all open world from there. You can run anywhere you want. It's seamless. There's no boundaries. You can run from any zone into any other zone. But then we still do instancing after that, but that's mostly for raiding and dungeons and things of that nature.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I still have a question.
Sure.
Coming from Guild Wars 2, is there PvP like within the world, or is it apart from? Like,
I'm not allowed to talk about PvP, but what I will say is we're going to be a fully featured MMO. If anybody else is doing it, we're going to have it as well. But I can say this little bit. I'd say more than half the people in our entire company are rabid PvP players. We have clans, we're in studio rumbles with other studios. We love PvP, so I'll leave it to your imagination after that.
Well,
thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's starting to rain now, so we're probably going to wrap this up and go inside and hide from the rain. And yeah, thank you very much as well.
Nobody touch anything.
Mighty impressive piece of work. Now things are warming up a touch, we should make camp and ready for the worst. No telling us what I like to hear.